Welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast with your hosts Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Divert your phone and grab a brew as Waz and Nic unpack tips, tales, secrets and stuff-ups from guests both inside and outside your trade, helping educate and inspire you to break the cycle of gut-busting and money stress and create a true trade business.
Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning, Warwick. How are you?
Great. I'm in a just jump right in and take over mood.
As opposed to the other days of the week?
Where I try and hang back and let you speak first.
How cold is it there this morning?
Just the usual 2 degrees. And actually it's climbed all the way to 5 degrees at what is this, like 8 o'clock?
Yes. It's pretty good. 5 degrees.
In the morning.
We're
It's balmy.
Positively. We're at 9 at 8 o'clock in Ipswich. We're at
Ooh.
9 degrees. We started at 4 this morning. Felt like -1.
Ooh. See, I always found Ipswich to be quite cold, Coxie.
It is cold and it is hot. Like it's just so much drier than Brisbane itself. It's weird.
It's a hot and a cold part of the world. I used to go to the V8 supercars every year.
I've
Yes,
never been.
I'm a bit of a petrol head. So are you, actually. You're a muscle car chick, aren't you?
I am. I do enjoy the cars, but I've never been out to the drags. I've never been out to the V8 supercars. I've never done any of that stuff. I don't know why. It just with kids' sport, I think was always the problem. It was always in the way.
Yeah. So I, having had my daughter a bit later in life, like lots, I was lucky enough got to stop using that word. I decided to go to the V8s every year for about 6 or 7 years.
Nice.
And, but it was originally in May, I think, April or May, might have been May, June. And, it was such a friggin' cold time. Like the mornings were freezing.
Yeah.
But then you have those beautiful clear days where the sun just like peels the skin off your face every minute because you get burnt so easily.
So true.
And then you drink a few rum cans and forget to put your hat back on and you go home feeling very windswept and sore and sorry after a day at the motorsport.
I don't know what it is. I guess we're just that little bit more inland, but it is freezing cold here and dreadfully hot in the middle of summer. But the days are glorious and you can handle anything with a nice day, I always think.
And I guess it comes down to what you expect, doesn't it, Coxie?
Nice segue, Warwick. Yes, it is.
I was going to Chuck Norris off the V8s with the expectation, but you kind of go there expecting to get sunburnt and all that. But we did say that the concert was great on Saturday night, but I think you and I have had a chance to sleep on it since yesterday's episode. It's like we were chatting this morning. It's like I felt a bit ripped off, Coxie.
I felt very ripped off, I was really disappointed. Well, no, disappointed isn't the right way to term it. I felt a little let down.
So listeners, g'day and welcome to Tradies in Business Daily TradieRonaCast. We did skip an episode last week. Coxie and I both dropped the ball together.
We just had a shit week. Let's call it for what it was.
We had a custard week and we missed an episode last Thursday. I think it was, Coxie. So
what's Thursday?
I would like to apologise, listeners, in case that caused you any additional stress and anxiety on top of all the other stress and anxiety you're already feeling at the moment.
Oh, do you know I got quite a bit of feedback about our dropped episode on Friday afternoon drinks?
So did I. Oh, okay. I actually had someone message me. It's like, hey, Waz, just checking in, mate. Is everything okay? I haven't had an episode from you for a couple of days. It's
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, dude, I'm fine. Just busy. So sorry for messing with your head, listeners. But hey, there you go, Coxie. It's a great example of people expecting something and then not getting it and going, is everything okay? What's going on? And I think a lot of us maybe aren't aware enough of how we set expectations without meaning to.
Yes. I'm loving this topic this morning.
So a bit of context, listeners. Coxie and I, you would have heard us gushing about the Powderfinger boys and the concert, even the word concert, the concert that was on Saturday night. And wifey and I have to admit, we rearranged our entire lounge room partly in preparation for said concert.
Did you really? That's
Yeah,
hardcore.
you should see the space we cleared so we could like jump around and carry on. And I had a couple of drinky poos, and we even did a pre-listen. We dragged out like the best of Powderfinger beforehand just to get warmed up, and reacquaint ourselves with some of our favourites. And the boys came on, bang on 7. It was like, this is really cool, but I don't know. They didn't intro it at all.
No,
They just started playing.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this is obviously pre-recorded, and that's okay. They're streaming it as a recorded version because it would be pretty hard to have all the fellas all over the place live streaming and actually be at the mercy of technology like you and I are most days, which is a nightmare. Anyway, we started to get into it at about the 20-minute mark. It's like, yeah, that's a cool song. Yeah, I love this song. And then they did the wind-up.
It was flipping devastating.
Wifey said, is that it? Like, this is before 7:45 p.m.
Yeah.
And I was bunkered down for a concert, like at least 90 minutes. And then I thought, oh, well, I guess that's it. Okay, cool. I mean, it was great. It was quality 37 minutes of my life. But, yeah, I felt a bit jibbed, actually. Sorry, Powderfinger boys.
I'm sure they're not listening to our podcast. But should they? I also felt disappointed. I loved the music. I was very excited. My daughter and I jumped around like idiots. I brought the stepson in. He still thinks I'm an idiot. We had a bit of fun. It was a nice evening, but it was over before it began. And like you, I was labelled a concert. I was expecting a concert. They were my expectations.
Yeah.
They were expectations that were my own. Nobody told me that it was going to go for a determined period of time. But when you use the word concert, I assume it was going to go for, well, I figured at least an hour, considering I actually thought there was going to be a warm-up act and then them.
Yeah. I was probably hoping for a bit more of the usual banter. Do you know what? Oh, wow. I felt like the boys just weren't really into it.
Oh, that's a big call. Did you really feel like that?
Musically, I thought they were into it, and Darren was being cheeky, and that part was cool, but it just there wasn't the I suppose crowd banter,
So
which
that's
obviously you can't do without a crowd, right?
Well, it's interesting that you bring this up because a big focus this week in our house is the fact that the football returns on Thursday night. Now, when football first played the first round or two for both codes prior to the whole lockdown, shutdown, whatever it's called, I hated it. I got through a quarter of the AFL and I don't know, maybe 10 minutes of the NRL. I was over it. That's it. I'm done. Sorry, not interested. Couldn't stand it without the crowd. It's not the same game to me. I'm changing my mind because I've missed it that much. But the discussions we've been having is how much do the players or band members take back from the crowd? Like they obviously give a lot of their own energy out, whether it be playing in either form, but how much of that is fed back to them by that crowd interaction? Even negative crowd interaction makes you excited and want to get on with it.
Oh, absolutely. And I went and saw Bernard Fanning actually a couple of years ago at the Tivoli.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure I've talked about this on the podcast before, so I won't bore everybody with the whole story. But someone was heckling, well, semi-heckling Bernard, and this is like an intimate gig, he's on piano and he had, I can't remember the lady's name, I'm really sorry, to the artist, on violin. She was amazing, or the fiddle, might have been the fiddle. But there was this drunk bogan chick up the front, and she was making such a racket and just talking smack in the middle of this like fantastic, heartfelt song from Bernard. And the Tivoli's literally packed to the rafters. And he's just stopped mid-song and looked at this chick and gone, are you right? And
Ah.
everyone's just like, yeah. And I guess they would be used to that sort of live gig. I mean, studio recording for them would be very, very different. They'd all be in the same place for some of it at least. And I know they lay down their tracks separately. But I actually thought, you know what, that's like podcasting.
Mm.
You and I bounce off each other, which is a blessing that we create that energy by bouncing off each other. And us not being in the same room has been hard as well. We've had to really change our game up a bit with this whole online thing. I mean, right now, listeners, I'm looking at an audio trace on my screen.
It's our worm.
With our names against each of our audio traces. Coxie and I have been reduced to digital worms.
We are.
On
We're
a
very much a
screen. And so I'm literally picturing you, Coxie, sitting in your office, looking out the window into your back garden there, where we've recorded many times before, just to sort of create that feeling that you and I are having that conversation in person. And
Yes.
I felt like the boys were missing that crowd feedback, I reckon.
Interesting, isn't it? I don't know that I could. Actually, I can relate it right back to yesterday's Toolbox Talk. Usually you and I do a Toolbox Talk together. I'm not great talking off the cuff in front of the camera for an extended period of time without some really defined subject points to talk to. So I always come in with a subject point, or you and I do a little hustle 5 minutes before we go on air and decide what we're going to talk about, which I did at 3 a.m. on Monday morning, like I normally do. But I actually can talk really quickly and concisely, get to the point, and then that's 5 minutes down and my Toolbox Talk is over. And it was always the same with the guys as well. Again, there's no feedback. Like, you're talking to a camera in the office. There's this massive lag with Facebook. So I'm not getting that feedback from those that are watching live until I'm just about ready to wrap it up, because it just takes that long for Facebook to catch up to where we're at with the streaming. But I find it really challenging to I guess, pad anything out without that engagement back. So it was, I can relate it straight back to there. So as a performer, I don't think that I would cope without a crowd. As a football player, I don't think I'd cope without a crowd.
Yeah, who would pump you up and make you feel better about yourself if you didn't have a crowd?
Some pretty wicked music going on, wouldn't you? Running out onto the field with no crowd noise.
So I want to do a quick Chuck Norris on a couple of points here, Coxie. One, we've talked about expectations, and I do want to dig into that, listeners, and get a little bit serious with you this morning on a Tuesday. I'm choosing to be serious. So expectations, setting them, not setting them, accidentally setting them without trying to set them. And the other one is feedback, and I guess performing, and how it also relates to sales and sales processes and choreographing things. And I think those two are very related in my mind at the moment, Coxie, and they may be completely unrelated in yours. But we've been working on a project in the background for, not for trade desk members or anybody in particular, but for anybody to access some business essentials. If you're a trade business owner, we're putting together a business essentials. I don't know what we're calling this. That's it. No, it's tradie business essentials. That's what we're putting together. Yep. The tradie business essentials. So we're working on that. We're doing some recording and working with a coach as well. And something that really stuck out for me when we were going through the sales module is this missed opportunity for trade business owners to really set expectations with their prospective clients from the first time they talk to them.
It's something that you and I talk about an awful lot. We bang on about, whether it be in a webinar or on the podcast. We talk about it a lot on the podcast, or we talk about it a lot with our group members, about positioning your clients so they understand what your process is. It's actually really quick and easy to do, and you're setting their expectations. When they come into an exchange with their own expectations, I guarantee you're more than likely to let them down, because their head's in a different space to where your processes are at. But if you bring them into that early stage communication and be talking to them about what your processes are and what they can expect from you, you can then deliver. And when you deliver, you set about a beautiful client experience. So you're getting the reviews that you need. You're getting them talking positively about your business to the rest of their community. Whereas when you go into a Powderfinger concert, or you assume it to be a concert, because I'm just looking online and nowhere does it say it's a concert, and you
Ooh.
miss the fact that it actually told you that it was Saturday, May 23rd, 2020 from 7 to 7:50 p.m. So they actually delivered bang on what they said they were going to deliver. But because I didn't see that, because there was no education about it, because I made assumptions about what my experience was going to be like, I left feeling let down. And I know for a fact that our trade business owners, many of them are doing this on a daily basis because they've just not put time, effort, and thought into what their clients are expecting and how they can set those expectations.
There's some great lessons in there, Coxie, and I'm glad you brought all that stuff up about the fact they did post the length of the live stream and that they didn't call it a concert. And so I think the Chuck Norris in there is check out how a couple of super intelligent humans like Coxie and me can jump to conclusions, make assumptions, and then end up disappointed with something that was awesome.
Yes.
Just because we didn't read it properly, didn't pay enough attention to it. And tradie listeners, listen, this is what your prospective clients do to you every day, right?
All the time.
You have something on your website. You put something on the bottom of the quote that says, 50% deposit paid on acceptance or whatever it might be. And a customer gets uppity because, oh, what? You didn't tell me about that. It's like, dude, it's on the quote acceptance that you signed.
Yeah.
Just putting it there doesn't actually mean that people read it.
Apparently not.
Coxie and Waz are a case in point. But that's the thing, right? We have to take more ownership as business owners, as salespeople, in inverted commas, of our communication, because we think we've said it enough. We think we've communicated it clearly. But if your prospect didn't get the message, if your fans didn't get the message clearly enough, it's not their fault.
No, it's not.
It's your fault as the communicator.
But that's like another one of those big pineapples.
We'll have to change the name of this podcast.
But it's really
Tradies
uncomfortable.
and Business Pineapple Podcast. Well, it is uncomfortable, but it's where the juice is, in the pineapple.
I'm glad it's in the pineapple.
It's where the good stuff is. When we do that thing of taking ownership, then we can actually take control, and then we can change it, and then we can get better results. So, yeah, this whole setting expectations thing, I have a wish, Coxie.
Wish away, Waz.
I wish our listeners would do a better job of the first few contact points with their clients.
And that is all part of the sales process that we bang on about all of the time.
Absolutely. And look, I'm aware that all of these lessons, I can hold up a mirror and apply them to us and what we do with the trade desk. And that's why we're constantly seeking your feedback, listeners, surveying our members, testing things, changing stuff. I guess we're looking for that sweet spot in some regards. And look, as far as your business goes, listener, if you have ever had misunderstandings or customers be disappointed or feel like they didn't get what they expected, then maybe there's some lessons in there for you around how well are you setting expectations from the start. Yes, it's on your website or your contract or whatever, but is that enough?
Can I just make one point before we close this part out?
Please do.
People learn in different ways, or they understand or grow expectations in different ways. And so just as Warwick previously said, putting that 50% deposit requirement on the bottom of your quote acceptance form, some people will read that and see that. Like, I'm sure, obviously, given the feedback to the Powderfinger concert, lots of people understood it was only going to be a 50-minute long session, and they were not disappointed like I was. However, other people need to hear it from you, and they need to acknowledge what you're saying. So it might be, thanks, Mrs. Jones, really pleased that you'll be accepting the quote. I just wanted to double check that you saw that we require a 50% deposit before we go ahead. Oh, yes, I did see that. Thank you very much. Or, oh, no, I didn't actually see that. Can you tell me a bit more about that? We all learn in different ways. We all get our understandings from different avenues. So make sure that when you're communicating those really important points that set the expectations, you do so in a couple of different ways. That's my final little point on that.
And I'm going to leave it with your fabulous little bow that you tied and affixed to that episode, Coxie. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. What colour was it?
I'm picturing like a port wine sort of colour.
Oh, that's nice. Better than orange.
I could have said orange just to upset you.
I knew. I really thought you would.
Not on a Tuesday.
Now, do we have any reviews?
Negative, Coxie.
No.
No new reviews. Our last review was a week ago.
Just
More than a
whole
week ago. 11 days, gang.
The last one was Kerry, right?
Yes.
Yep.
I've almost lost heart, Nicole.
Oh,
I don't know
don't
if
lose
anybody
heart.
cares.
They do love us. Otherwise, they wouldn't come back to us and say, "Are you okay?" when we don't do a podcast one day.
No, I think that's just because it messed up their schedule for the morning. It's like, you're messing with my head, was? So leave us a review, gang. This is a fantastic way you can give us feedback. Thanks to the reviews that have already been left. We're back in I think we're inside the top 150 business podcasts in Australia.
Okay, that's a start. I'd really
Which
like
is
to get
no
to top
mean
10.
feat because there's bloody heaps of them.
There are a lot.
But help us get a little higher in the rankings so that more trade business owners can find us. I've had some messages from a couple of our members and clients this week that have been sharing the love with friends and trying to get them to do something about something. And so a lot of you would have found out about us via the podcast and then continued listening to us for some strange reason. But if you could please take the time to go and give us a review in iTunes. Spotify don't care about your opinions, but Apple still does. So go to iTunes on the web, find the Tradies in Business podcast, and leave us a review. It can be a bit convoluted. We should probably do like a little how-to video, Coxie, and put it on the page.
It's not a
how to
silly
leave us a
idea,
review.
Warwick.
There you go. So I'm going to commit to that this week.
Thank
So
you.
go leave us a review and give us whatever rating you reckon. Give us some feedback, and it'll help push us up the rankings and get us past some of the other interesting business podcasts in Australia, so the tradies can find us and get the fabulous gold that you get out of us every day.
You lucky buggers.
Anyway, thanks for listening on a Tuesday. I hope it's a fantastic one for you. We'll be back in your ear holes tomorrow by hook or by crook. And just think about how are you setting expectations without even meaning to.
Hooroo.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Tradies in Business podcast with Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Find out more about today's guest, tools for your trade business, and other cool stuff at tradiesinbusiness.com.au.